Ocala.
Thank you for tuning in. A little bit rainy out there this morning. 5 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thank you for listening. So you know what? I would enjoy doing if I was home right now. I would enjoy look at the rain, listening to the radio. Especially if we have a great conversation, and we have one I trust. In just a bit, Deborah Downey is on the phone. She has written a book. It's called What Are You Worried About? I love it when we get encouragement not to worry. Worrying is a weird thing.
Yeah.
Because when I'm not worried, I tell people, don't worry.
Yeah, you do.
So then I depend on people to tell me, don't worry, when I'm worried. Right?
Exactly.
And it's easier said than done. There's, I think, something in the Bible that says, it won't do you any good or something. I'm terrible at quoting the Bible, but it's something along that way, right? And you think about it logically, it really doesn't do any good at all. Although, and then I had this thought that comes back from my childhood, worry is the mother of prevention.
Yeah.
Worry is the mother of prevention. So maybe, you can't. I guess you could worry in that sense about, don't speed because you're worried you'll have an accident.
Right.
Well, then you don't speed. But
right.
How are you going to stop worrying about, whatever things you can't control? Deborah has a list of credentials. She has experienced 25 years of recovery in various 12-step programs, really, around the country. She's a professional life coach, a chemical dependency counselor, a multiple sclerosis sufferer. And again, her book is called What Are You Worried About? Now, my dilemma at first was, wow, it sounds like what she wants to talk about is different than what the book talks about until I came on this page right here. It says, what men want, what men love.
That's right. And you're a man.
I am. Men love to be complimented. Men like to be looked at when asked about something. Anyway, so, the other day we went to this event for the Children's Craniofacial Association, and these children are born with facial deformities, and I hope that's not a compromising word or an insulting word. I don't mean it to be. But for those who don't know what it is, the children have to learn to accept it, because in most cases it's never going to change.
Yeah.
Surgery is only going to go as far as it can. But sometimes, we accept who we are, what we are, and it makes us a better person. So we're going to talk about dating, right?
Yeah.
Also about not worrying. So it sounds like Deborah has a list of things for us to talk about. Good morning, Deborah. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, Larry.
You're welcome. Where are you right now?
Well, I am up in the low Sierras. I'm about 10 miles away from a raging fire that's called the King Fire.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Oh, man. Are you worried about it?
I'm actually not worried about it, but I am prepared in case I get that knock on the door.
Well,
15 minutes, grab everything you own.
Yeah.
But,
oh, wow. So, I mean, do you agree that worry is the mother of prevention?
I don't really think of it that way.
No.
I think there's a difference between being prepared and being, mature and not taking stupid risks and things like that. We can't be reckless.
So
we have to have some discernment.
Deborah, before we get to know your book, can we get to know you a little bit? Because then I think I'll understand the direction that the notes tell me we're going in. Tell me about yourself.
Well, you mentioned that I had multiple sclerosis. I've had it for 25 years. I've been in show business for almost 45 years, and I had a very interesting life, moved around the country a lot, moved every 18 months or so because my father was in a company that would transfer him. He was a time efficiency expert. So I learned how to move into an area and acclimate myself, make friends, and not make too strong of attachments. Because I knew I was leaving.
Oh, man.
I've been married a few times. My third husband passed away suddenly when we were living in Half Moon Bay. He was 60 years old, got diagnosed with lung cancer on Monday, and died on Wednesday from a heart attack.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
So that was kind of like having the rug pulled out from underneath my feet. But because of my spiritual connection over the years, which I got primarily from 12-step programs, it taught me how to have a real dependence and user-friendly way of asking for my higher powers intervention in my life. And so I knew intuitively that if I did not resist, I would not suffer. Because it's resisting, when you resist something and you try to fight it, and the first words out of my mouth was, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I wanted to say, this can't be, this can't be. But because of my exposure to my higher power and learning that if I align my will with God's will and don't resist, I won't suffer. And so I got into action and I learned how to be of service to people. And that's always been my antidote to suffering.
So I went to your website, and hope you don't mind me saying this. You're a cutie.
Oh, thank you.
You see this? Did you see her picture?
Yeah,
You're talking to an aging tart here, okay?
An aging tart.
Oh.
An aging tart. Is that what you
Not
said?
as old as me.
So how in what way has the multiple sclerosis defined you, or has it not defined you in any way?
It hasn't defined me in any way. And, initially, when I was first diagnosed, of course, I had gone to like 5 doctors over the course of 2 years because I had a slight limp and I didn't know why. And they couldn't really diagnose me. But when I finally was diagnosed, my first reaction was, why me? Poor me, why me? And a good friend of mine just looked at me and said, well, why not you? Who are you?
Oh,
and
no.
I got it.
Oh, no.
It was like a slap in the face, of course. But then, I realized it's like we all have things that we have in our lives that are challenges. And I've learned to live with unresolved issues.
Okay. Are you in a wheelchair?
No, I'm not. I actually walk with a cane. The first 12 years that I had MS, I didn't really have visible signs, although I might look like I'd had a martini or two or something walking around because I'd have a little tiny sway to my gait. But then when I
that's
got
good
to be,
for women though, to have a sway to their gait. Men look.
A sway to your gait.
Yeah. Well, not that kind of sway, but anyway, I then had an exacerbation when my father died, and that was about 15 years back. And that stress kind of brought a little more limp into my right leg. And I was living with that, and then I heard about a treatment in Germany, and so I went to Germany and had this infusion of this thing at the time called calcium EAP, and this was a daily infusion that you would get, and took about a half an hour, and I came back to the States, and I had to get medical doctors to put in a portacath. Well, the problem with that was my portacath got infected. And when my portacath got infected, that was back in 2003. And at that point, I had my own cabaret theater, and I was performing, and I had my first record coming out called Here's to Life. And so I wound up in the hospital for 10 days, and I came out, and I had to completely rehabilitate myself. I couldn't walk.
Oh, wow. Wow. So all of this prepared you for what we're going to talk about after the break. We have a break coming up, and the book is called "What Are You Worried About?" I can't wait for the audience to hear what you've written about, because I think it's a very positive message and a very straightforward and a very honest one. And from one aging tart to another, I think you're, I think you're saying something that needs to be heard, especially by. Well, even by older people, not just by younger people, but by everybody, I think. So we'll take a little break. Deborah Downey is on the phone. It's a joy to have you on, Deborah.
Thank you, Larry.
We are up against the break, so let's take that break right now, and we'll be right back to talk to Deborah about her and her book. What are you worried about?
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. More clouds and sun today with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm around during the afternoon and evening hours. The high today 82 to 86. Mostly cloudy later tonight, though 68 to 72. For tomorrow and Thursday, intervals of clouds and sun with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm around, mainly during the afternoon hours of each day. High both days 83 to 87. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Dan, did you know that the runway at Ocala's airport is nearly 8,000 feet long?
Why, no, Brad. I did not. Please, tell me more about said runway.
Seriously, it's a big airport.
Yeah, I kind of knew that. So what's your point?
Well, just that most people don't even realize there's an airport, much less one that's big enough for Air Force One to land.
And
that Ocala Aviation is based at Ocala International Airport.
So why are you telling me?
So that you can help me get the word out that Ocala Aviation has a fleet of airplanes, and it's here for them to learn to fly.
And how do you propose we get said message across to so many people at once?
We should put an ad on a good radio station, but yours will do.
Very funny. Well, what do you want to say?
That we offer private, instrument, and even commercial training, all right here in Ocala. They don't even have to go anywhere else. They can do it all right here.
Nope, never work.
Well, then give them the number to call with any questions.
I can't even remember your number.
Yes, you do. 861-7484. How hard is that?
Okay, I'll call you next week and we'll get it started.
Can you remember the number this time?
Yes, 861-7484.
Good boy.
Who would you feed if you had 50 chicken sandwiches from Chick-fil-A? WOCA and Chick-fil-A in the Paddock Mall have teamed up to reward one organization with 50 chicken sandwiches as a way of saying thanks for the great work that organization is doing in our community. And we need your help. See, there are so many great people doing great things that we need nominations. You can nominate your own organization or any organization you choose. Simply send an email to WOCA@WOCA.com. And in 350 words or less, tell us why the organization you are nominating should receive 50 free chicken sandwiches from WOCA and Chick-fil-A at the Paddock Mall. We'll review your nominations and then select one deserving organization each month. We'll announce the winner and even read the winning entry on the air. Make sure to include the contact name and phone number of the organization that you are nominating. And thanks from your friends at WOCA and Chick-fil-A in the Paddock Mall.
Cookies, 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 cookies.
When you want something special and fun for any occasion, get cookies. That's right. The Great American Cookie Company in the Paddock Mall, Ocala will make a delicious, fun-filled delight just for you. You might notice that I said fun and delicious more than once. That's because I can't say it enough. The next time you're at the mall, be sure and stop by or call 352-237-2557 to place your order.
Cookies, cookies,
Yum.
cookies, cookies. We go cookie eating cookies.
The Great American Cookie Company.
All right, thank you for waiting during the break. Deborah Downey is on the phone, and again, her book is called What Are You Worried About? I was just on your website, Deborah, and welcome back, by the way. I went to your website, CoachDeborahDowney.com, for those who want to go to the website, CoachDeborahDowney.com. That's where I was watching your video. So I can have I can have a free session with you?
Absolutely.
Now what?
All of your listeners are welcome to come on and get a Breakthrough Brilliance consultation for free.
What is that? How does that work? I mean, do you come on to what do you call it, Skype or something like that?
I usually do it on the phone.
Oh,
I don't usually use
talking.
Skype, but I'm getting there. I will eventually.
You should use Skype. You know what Clark Howard said? You should use Google Hangouts. He said that's better than Skype. I haven't tried it yet, but that's what he says. Anyways,
okay.
So that's
Good
cool.
to know.
So and it sounds like people will answer questions in this little questionnaire that you have. First of all, like what's going on in your world right now, that kind of thing, whatever. What gifts do you have, that kind of thing, and then you kind of chat with them about their life. And what's your goal? Your goal is to make them understand not to be so worried.
Well, it depends on what people want to work on. But yes, worry. The reason I named the book "What Are You Worried About" is because it's behind pretty much every issue someone has. If it has to do with their children, if it has to do with their job situation, worry is always in the background. And we have to get rid of the three ugly stepsisters of worry, doubt, and fear. And I can teach people how to do that on a daily basis.
And that not only affects a person's emotional-ness, but it also affects their physical, too.
Absolutely, especially stress and worry lead to self-pity and, isolation, and all of those things are terrible for people that have illnesses. there's a whole section in my book too about the caregivers and how to treat people that are with diagnoses and illnesses and even old. And my mom used to own retirement homes, and so I know how old people are treated and what really is a good way to talk to them and take care of them.
Yeah, Robin and I spent 3 years working at an assisted living facility, and the one thing, well, from a music point of view, I remember the musicians that came in to play music would play like children's songs, and I used to think, why are they doing that? These people want to hear in those years, they wanted to hear the old 1940s songs.
Absolutely.
So I would specifically look for musicians who could do that, because I was thinking, wow, they're not even treating these people like people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to infantilize people that are, with an illness. And sometimes people talk to you like you're deaf, just because you have MS or whatever. And it's crazy. It's crazy. People ask me, the craziest questions that were self-evident, like, how can you drive? And they'd see me getting out of a car, having just driven there.
Oh, that is crazy.
I mean, it's like, hello.
But the advice is not just for somebody with a condition or an illness. The advice is for everybody, it looks like, to me.
Well, pretty much. I've shared all of my coping skills and all the things that I've used to help people, coach people in just about every aspect of their life. I have a really good understanding of children of alcoholics. Okay, adult children,
right.
Because that's a very pervasive thing. There's a lot of people running around that had parents that were alcoholics, and that can be behind so many poor choices if you haven't really looked at it and overcome it. Okay. You can't just put it in a closet and forget about it, because it'll put you doing the same problem over and over again.
And that's really reflected in your one chapter that you titled, I Am the Gem, the Jewel, the Prize, and the Party.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I love self-talk. I want to constantly tell myself that I am enough, I do enough, I have enough, I am enough. Because as a child of alcoholic parents, I'm always questioning and trying to push myself to be perfect. And one of the 25 ideas in the front of the book is I strive for imperfection, and I'm always a winner.
If you're on a first date with a guy and you tell him the title of that chapter, I am the gem, I am the jewel, I am the prize, I am the party, his eyes will get very wide. He'll look at
basically that's my inner talk to myself. Yeah. I don't necessarily blast that out to the date.
But if you did, I'm just saying, if you did, I think the guy would respond very, very, very positively to that. Uh-huh. So on a serious note, tell me, let's see, who do you think will benefit from the book the most? Is there an age group that'll benefit the most? So is one sex going to benefit more than the other?
I think the book is pretty generally addresses all kinds of people. There's people that are the young women in the 30 to 40 category. I also have a whole section on parenting and parents of alcoholic children. There's a lot of different aspects to this book, and I would say if you had an alcoholic parent, then this book will really help you.
Oh, You do have humorous things in the book. I like the one chapter you have, how to identify if you are operating from outdated ideas that came from your parents or your childhood. Are you missing something? I mean, you're allowing people to get out of that old-time niche and get into the present.
Yes. And that's very important. And like I said, if you just forget about it and act like it's not happening, people pick the wrong person to fall in love with all the time. And they pick the wrong place to work because they're trying to work through their issues with their alcoholic parent that was either alcoholic and or dysfunctional. If you had a crazy mother, a hypochondriac parent, it doesn't just work on people that had alcoholic parents. It can also be that you've been affected by an overly religious parent, an overly permissive parent, and had no structure. All of these people are affected, and they make choices based on their internal critic. I call the ego, I think the ego, our ego, which is our lower self, is the problem. And to make it really clear, that's the voices that tell you you're no good, you did it wrong.
Do you know?
And I named mine Shirley Temptress. Because I came out of the chute of an approval-seeking missile. When I was born, I just wanted to be loved and tap dance my way into the hearts of millions, like Shirley Temple. So I named my ego Shirley Temptress.
Oh, wow. So how like if I or somebody were to go to you for some coaching help, and the question was, how do I get myself together? How do I get my act together? I mean, you got your act together. I don't know if the way you did it would work for somebody else, but how do you answer that question? Because that's what we all want. We all want to get our act together.
Yeah.
Well, it just depends. I would first, suggest that worry is a misuse of the imagination. And so I would have them try to develop a connection with a higher part of themselves. Some people call it God or Buddha or something, but something greater than yourself. And it can just be the gift of desperation, G-O-D, gift of desperation, and that can be a power greater than yourself. And I start showing people how to connect with that, and how to, if they're having a bad day, let's say they have unrealistic expectations and they hold themselves up to perfection in work, or they're worried about something that has to do with going on a date.
Yeah.
It's all our mindset. And so we can reset our mind just the way we reset the garbage disposal. We have a reset button.
By the way, there's one kind of a guy that I really always get annoyed at, and I'm not naming a specific person, but there's a type of guy, and this is the guy who really never had a really easy time of finding a woman. Then he finally does. He's very, very lucky. God blesses him with a wonderful woman, and then a year later he's complaining about her. It's like, I always think, what the heck is wrong with you? You are so much better off now than you were. I don't know what's wrong with us. I don't know if you see it the opposite way, like women do the same thing, but this is what I see.
Well, yes, because people fall in love with themselves, really, initially. When we fall in love, what we're really falling in love with is how we feel about ourselves when we're with that person. And then after a year or so, then it becomes holding them up to your mirror and saying, see how they do that? They don't do it the way I do it. They don't do it the way they should do it.
Right.
I don't ever use the word should. And one of the things that set me free and changed my life forever was when I was told by this woman that I was never allowed to hold anyone else up to my standards, ever. And it was like a slap in the face when she told me that. But it has proven to be the one thing that has kept me from going into resentment and comparing and complaining and trying to control, manage, and direct people. And that's what really crumbles relationship, is that each other decide that this person isn't living up to their standards.
I think, Deborah, that the little that we've come to know you in this short visit with you is that you've had some trials and tribulations in your life that have actually manifested themselves in you becoming a deep thinker, and now that deep thinking person that you are is available to help the rest of us, which I love that. The book is called What Are You Worried About? I have a copy of Deborah Downey's book right here. Call me if you want it. The website is CoachDeborahDowney.com. And is the book on Amazon, etc.?
It is. It's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and ebook and Apple and all the various, online books.
All right. Deborah, thank you so much for being on the air with us and for putting up with my silliness a little bit. And thank you for what you're doing. You're making the world a better place.
Well, thank you. And you are too. I really enjoy your show.
Thank you, Deborah. All right, we'll take a little break. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. A first wave of U.S. Arab airstrikes hit